I used to be one of those team player types. You know the kind. First one in, last one out, always volunteering to take on the projects nobody else wanted. I wasn't trying to be a saint, I just genuinely thought that hard work paid off. Spoiler alert, it doesn't always. Especially not when your boss is Dana. I started at Holton and Crest straight out of college. It was a mid-sized consulting firm, nothing flashy, but it had that gritty potential you get excited about when you're young and hungry. My role was officially operations associate, but unofficially, I did everything. Data cleanup, pitch decks, onboarding, late-night coffee runs, and once even unclogged a break room sink because no one else wanted to deal with it. In the beginning, Dana seemed like the kind of manager you wanted to impress. Sharp suits, sharper tongue, and a way of making praise feel like a rare diamond. She'd say things like, "You're going places, Alex," or "You're the kind of person this company needs more of." Stuff that makes your chest puff out a little, you know? So I kept pushing. My first year, I stayed quiet when the company skipped raises due to market volatility. Dana took me aside, said, "Trust me, it's temporary. Stick with me. You're on my radar." That sentence lived rent-free in my head for months. Year 2 came. I'd taken on 2 people's workloads after a round of layoffs. I trained the new guy, rewrote half of our onboarding documentation, and even pulled off a last-minute presentation that helped land a 6-figure client. I asked for a raise. Dana blinked and said, "Let's circle back next quarter. We're tightening budgets." That quarter never came. Year 3? That was the one that cracked something in me. I'd hit my breaking point quietly, like a hairline fracture you don't notice until the bone snaps. I was managing projects that were way above my pay grade, running point on vendor negotiations, and serving as the unofficial therapist for 3 newer hires who couldn't stand Dana's mood swings. When I brought up the topic of a promotion very carefully, during one of our one-on-ones, Dana gave me this look. Like I was asking for a favor, not what I'd earned. "I need you to be patient, Alex. It's not that you're not valuable, it's just that we have to be strategic with our compensation right now. I need you to trust me. You do trust me, right?" And like a fool, I nodded. That night, I sat in my car for 20 minutes after work, staring at the steering wheel like it owed me answers. I wasn't angry, not yet. Just tired. Bone-deep tired. I went home, opened my laptop, and for the first time in 3 years, I clicked Edit Profile on LinkedIn. At first, it felt wrong. Disloyal. Like I was sneaking out the back door of a burning house. But as I scrolled through job postings, real companies, real salaries, real opportunities, I started to feel something else. Relief. Hope. Maybe. Still, I didn't go full scorched earth. I was discreet. Updated my resume during lunch breaks. Took Zoom interviews in my car or during doctor's appointments. I even kept smiling through Dana's endless meetings about team synergy and thought leadership, nodding like I still believed in the dream. But inside, I was already packing my mental boxes. Dana just didn't know it yet. She thought I'd always be there. Thought I was too loyal, too timid, too dependent to ever leave. And for a while, she wasn't wrong. But everyone has a breaking point. And mine was coming fast. Job hunting while still employed is like having an affair with your future. You dress a little sharper on interview days, take calls with that slightly too cheerful voice, and constantly feel like your laptop's going to betray you by flashing Indeed on the screen mid-meeting. I kept things airtight. Phone always on silent. Resume scrubbed of any internal keywords that might flag it to our IT filter. Yes, I checked. Our company did monitor that stuff. I even saved files under decoy names like Q3 planning notes, just in case. Dana had a habit of checking in on us when we least expected it, and she was starting to get suspicious. I noticed it in the way her emails got colder, shorter, fewer exclamation marks. She started looping in unnecessary higher-ups on threads I normally handled alone. Little things, but if you've ever worked under someone passive-aggressive, you know those little things are her version of yelling. Then came the weird, casual conversations. "Hey Alex, just checking in. How are things feeling for you lately? You happy here?" That was code for, "I smell smoke. Are you about to jump ship?" I lied through my teeth. Of course, just focused on the end-of-quarter push. She smiled, but it didn't reach her eyes. Good, because we're really counting on you right now. Meanwhile, I was juggling interviews like a circus act. One company ghosted me. Another offered a job that sounded great until I Googled the CEO and found 3 lawsuits and a Reddit thread titled, "Is this company a scam or just toxic?" Then, Something promising came along, an offer from a rising competitor, Gable and Crane. Sleek branding, ethical leadership, actual salary transparency. I was 3 rounds in and cautiously hopeful. No offer yet, but the interviews felt different. Like I was being seen. But just as the light at the end of the tunnel started to glow, something else happened. The new intern, Darren, nice kid, eager, wore suits 2 sizes too big, cornered me in the break room. Hey, Alex, weird question. Dana asked me if you were looking for jobs. My stomach dropped. What? She said you've been acting distracted lately. Said she was worried you might be thinking about leaving. I froze mid-coffee stir. And what did you say? He looked uncomfortable. I told her I didn't know anything. Which is true. But I don't think she believed me. I managed a nod and walked back to my desk, but my brain was already sprinting laps. Dana was on the scent. For the next week, she became a micromanaging nightmare. Dropping by my desk with random check-ins, asking for status updates on projects she normally didn't care about, casually referencing our NDA policies in meetings like some kind of threat. I even caught her hovering behind me one afternoon when I had my email open, just passing through. That's when I knew it was time to move faster. I called Gable and Crane and left a voicemail for the hiring manager. Something calm but direct. Just a nudge. I couldn't risk staying in limbo much longer. Dana's tolerance for ambiguity was wearing thin. Then, 2 days later, the real blow came. I got a calendar invite from Dana for a 15-minute meeting. No context. Just check in. Now, normally that'd be nothing. But this time, it was scheduled in one of the small glass conference rooms. The kind you use when something isn't meant to stay private for long. I walked in, and she was already sitting there, arms folded, a folder in front of her like a judge about to read a sentence. Have a seat, she said. No smile. No preamble. The moment I sat down, she went in. I'm going to be direct with you, Alex. There's been some concerning chatter. Some people around here say you've been distracted, absent, secretive. I didn't say anything. She continued. And while I can appreciate ambition, I can't have someone on my team who's not fully committed. I tried to keep my face neutral, but something about her tone flipped a switch in me. She wasn't worried. She was enjoying this. I have to ask you, outright, she said, leaning in. Are you job hunting? I looked her in the eye. Does it matter? A flicker of surprise flashed across her face. Then came the smirk. Well then, Alex, I think we're done here. And just like that, I was fired. No warning. No formal process. Just a printed out termination letter and a security guard who showed up before I even stood up from my chair. She thought she'd caught me red-handed. Thought she'd stripped me of my options, my dignity, my next move. But what she didn't know, what she couldn't have possibly seen coming, was that I'd already played my best card. Because just hours before that meeting, while she was plotting her little coup, my phone had buzzed with an email. Subject line, we'd love to make you. Getting fired is weird. You think it's going to feel explosive, like a scene from a movie. But for me, it was cold, controlled, clinical. I sat there in that glass conference room, the buzz of the fluorescent lights humming above me while Dana read my termination letter like it was some kind of bedtime story. Effective immediately, Holton and Crest has decided to end your employment due to a breach of internal trust and professional conduct. I looked at the letter, then at her. Professional conduct? She crossed her legs, leaned back, and smiled, one of those tight-lipped, smug grins that always reminded me of someone who practiced in the mirror. We can't have people using company time and resources to look for other jobs, Alex. It undermines the culture we're trying to build here. Culture. Right. The same culture where raises were myths and praise came in vague corporate riddles. I didn't fight her. Didn't cry. I just stood up, slid the letter into my bag, and nodded. Understood. Truthfully, I'd already mentally quit months ago. She just saved me the awkward 2-week notice. But Dana wasn't done. She stood as I walked to the door and dropped one last line, like she couldn't help herself. You know, Alex, loyalty still matters in this industry. Burning bridges, it sticks with people. I paused, turned back slowly. I guess we'll both find out, huh? She didn't respond, but her expression tightened just a little, like I'd poked a bruise she didn't know she had. As I left the office for the last time, the security guard trailed me like I was a threat to the printers or something. I walked past my desk, my home for 3 years. My photos were already off the wall. I'd started packing mentally the moment I opened that LinkedIn tab. People stared. A few tried not to. Darren, the intern, looked like he'd seen a ghost. He started to say something, but I just gave him a small nod. It was over. Or so Dana thought. An hour later, I was sitting at my favorite coffee shop, still in my office clothes, sipping the strongest espresso I could stomach. My phone buzzed again. "Hi Alex, congrats again. Offer letter attached. Let us know once you've reviewed." There it was. Official. Gable and Crane had made it real. $17,000 more than what I was making before. Flexible hours. A leadership development track. A boss who, get this, thanked me during our last interview for being so refreshingly honest. I scrolled through the benefits like I was reading a love letter. Paid time off. Quarterly growth bonuses. Actual equity. And the cherry on top? I wasn't just some back office number cruncher anymore. My new role would put me in direct contact with some of the industry's biggest accounts, including, possibly, Holton and Crests. Oh, Dana, you really didn't plan this part out. I signed the offer that afternoon, then hit submit on a short, polite response to Dana's HR hit squad. No threats. No drama. Just, thank you for the opportunity. I've accepted a new role elsewhere and will not be contesting your decision. Then I logged out of everything. Company email, Slack, shared drives. Burned it down to digital ashes. That night, I ordered takeout, poured myself a drink, and sat on my apartment floor surrounded by the packing boxes I'd put off for months. Not the moving out kind. The moving up kind. I was out. Out of the chokehold of corporate gaslighting. Out of the routine that drained me dry while feeding someone else's bonus. I thought back to all the one-on-ones where Dana told me to trust the process. To the skipped raises, the fake promises, the endless, maybe next quarters. She thought firing me was the end of the story. But she didn't realize she'd just handed me the... Starting fresh at Gable and Crane felt like stepping into an alternate universe. People smiled. For starters, not that weird. Tight-lipped office smile, but the kind that meant they weren't just surviving the day. There were plants on desks, coffee that didn't taste like betrayal, and the kind of buzz in the air that said we're building something here. My new manager, Jess, was the real deal. Smart, sharp, no ego. During onboarding, she looked me dead in the eye and said, "We don't do hero culture here. If you're staying till 9 p.m., that's not hustle, that's a systems failure." I nearly cried on the spot. The work? Still intense. Still deadline heavy. But the difference was night and day. I wasn't running on fear anymore. I was running on value. Respect. And after 3 years of being Dana's go-to-ghost, it felt like I'd been handed my name back. 3 weeks in, I was invited to sit in on a strategy session with some of our top client leads. Just had me shadow a few calls, get the lay of the land. That's when I noticed a familiar name on one of the accounts. Brightwell Logistics. A long-time Holton and Crest client. Huge contract. I remembered staying up till 2 a.m., helping rewrite their entire onboarding pitch deck when Dana forgot to prep for the meeting. I'd practically gift-wrapped that account for her. No, they were on our radar. I didn't say anything yet. Just made notes. Listened. Waited. A few days later, over lunch, one of my new coworkers, Julia, brought it up casually. "You know we've been getting quiet feelers from Brightwell, right? Their rep says they're getting tired of the runaround over at Holton. They've been sitting on their renewal for months." My fork froze mid-bite. "They say it's the account manager," she added, sipping her iced tea. "Someone named Dana." I almost choked. "Dana Tellers?" I asked, careful to keep my tone light. "Yeah, you know her." I nodded slowly. "You could say that." Julia laughed. "Small world, huh?" "Oh, Dana. You're leaking clients like a bad faucet, and you don't even know it." Word started trickling in from former coworkers, too. Text from people still stuck at Holton. One said Dana had started blaming the team for low performance. Another said they'd cut the snack budget and laid off 2 junior analysts with zero notice. Then came the kicker, a message from Darren, the intern. "She's losing it, Alex. 3 more people quit last week." And someone upstairs finally noticed. "I heard there's a review happening." I stared at my phone, heart pounding, not with anxiety, but something close to awe. This was it. The collapse was starting. Not because I torched the place on the way out, but because Dana had built her throne on matchsticks. And now she was standing in a room full of smoke. About a month into my new role, just handed me an assignment. Brightwell wants a new proposal. Full service. They're not happy with Holton's communication. I played it cool. Nodded. "I know a bit about their setup." Jess raised an eyebrow. "Yeah, I used to work under their current rep for a long time." She paused. "Any conflict we should know about?" "No," I said, smiling. "Just context." We built the proposal. I added insights Dana never bothered to include, stuff I knew from years of being the one actually doing the work. The Brightwell team loved it. During the follow-up call, their lead contact, Greg, recognized my name. Wait, weren't you with Holton? I was, I said simply. But I'm in a better place now. Greg chuckled. Good. We were wondering what happened to the one person there who knew what they were doing. A week later, the deal was signed. Brightwell was ours. I didn't gloat. Didn't send Dana a miss me message or post a cryptic status on LinkedIn. I didn't have to. Because just a few days after the contract closed, someone forwarded me a company update from Holton. We regret to inform you that Dana Tellers will be stepping down from her role as account director, effective immediately. We thank her for her service and wish her the best. No fanfare. No excuses. Just a quiet exit for someone who once thought she was untouchable. It was poetic. No drama. No explosions. Just silence. And sometimes, silence is the loudest reveal. I didn't celebrate Dana's resignation the way I thought I would. No champagne. No smug monologues in the mirror. I just stared at the screenshot of the announcement for a long time, letting the quiet satisfaction settle in. Because here's the truth, revenge doesn't always come with fireworks. Sometimes it comes with signatures on dotted lines and inbox silence from people who once barked at you before 9 a.m. Dana was gone. Not on vacation, not transitioning. Gone. After a decade of ruling her little corporate kingdom like a tyrant with a clipboard, she finally tripped over her own ego, and I didn't even have to lift a finger. Well, maybe just one or two. After Brightwell moved over to us, the ripple effect was immediate. Word gets around fast in the consulting world, especially when a big name like theirs changes horses mid-race. Other companies started sniffing around. One by one, clients Dana had managed under Holton started poking their heads into our inboxes, asking for exploratory calls. We didn't chase them. They came to us. Just pulled me into one of those meetings after a few weeks. It was with a rep from Cresswell Textiles, another account Dana had managed. I walked in, shook the client's hand, and they blinked in surprise. Wait, Alex? You were with Holton too, weren't you? Guilty, I said with a smile. Just not anymore. Well, that explains why things always felt organized, until you left. Jess laughed from across the table. He's one of our secret weapons now. I wasn't just a name on a spreadsheet anymore. I was a face in the room, a trusted voice. And for the first time in my career, people weren't looking through me, they were looking to me. A few months passed, and I was thriving. Promotions were already on the table. I had a real team, a real future, and most days I actually wanted to show up to work. But then came the moment I hadn't expected. Dana reached out. It was an email. Short. Too polite. Subject line. Checking in. Hey Alex. Hope you're doing well. I'd love to catch up sometime soon. Maybe grab coffee? Let me know if you're around. Dana. No context. No apology. Just that weird, casual tone she used to use when she was trying to manipulate people without sounding like she was trying. At first, I thought it was spam. I stared at it for so long that my screen dimmed. I could have ignored it. Could have sent back a flaming roast or one of those fake wrong number gifs. But I didn't. I replied with exactly 5 words. I'm not available. Take care. That was it. Clean. Final. Nothing she could twist or spin. She never wrote back. The final stroke didn't come with a bang. It came one Monday morning when I got a call from Jess. Hey, just a heads up, there's a leadership roundtable next week for senior staff. Brightwell's going to be there. And they specifically asked that you attend. I blinked. Me. Yeah, Greg said, and I quote, Alex is the reason we're here. I hung up the phone and leaned back in my chair, staring at the ceiling like it might give me a fist bump. That roundtable? It went great. We brainstormed, strategized, even joked over coffee about the bad old days at Holton. Nobody mentioned Dana by name. They didn't have to. Her absence was its own presence. The empire she tried to rule with fear? It wasn't even a footnote in the conversation anymore. And me? I wasn't the afterthought. I wasn't the next quarter or the team player left waiting in the hallway. I was the one in the... There's this strange moment after the dust settles, after the calls, the contracts, the quiet victories, where you finally stop looking over your shoulder. For the first time in years, I wasn't bracing for a backhanded compliment or holding my breath during budget meetings. I didn't have to rehearse my words before walking into someone's office. I wasn't surviving anymore. I was living. And the wildest part? I didn't miss any of it. Not the long nights chasing raises that never came. Not the tight smile Dana used when she needed something. Not even the fake team-building happy hours that always ended in someone crying in the stairwell. I thought I'd feel bitterness lingering like smoke. But instead, I felt nothing. And then, slowly, something better. Peace. Life started filling in the space work had been occupying. I started running again. Not just to de-stress, but because I finally had the energy to care about my own body again. I reconnected with friends I hadn't seen in forever, met someone who made me laugh just by how passionately they hated brunch lines, and I even started mentoring new hires at Gable and Crane, sharing all the hard-won lessons Dana never taught me. There was something healing about that, taking the worst parts of my old job and using them to build something better for someone else. One afternoon, I was helping a new hire prep for a client meeting, and they said, "Thanks, Alex. You make things feel less intimidating." That one hit me harder than I expected, because once upon a time, that's all I wanted, to feel like someone had my back, to not be afraid of making mistakes, to matter. And now, I was that person, for someone else. That felt better than any raise Dana ever denied me. A few months later, something unexpected happened. I got a LinkedIn request from Dana. No message, no explanation, just that blue connect button glowing on my screen like a dare. I hovered over it for a second, then hit ignore. Not out of spite, but because I didn't need the connection. Not anymore. That chapter of my life was over, and I wasn't carrying her story into my next one. The biggest surprise? My old coworkers started reaching out, not for gossip, but for guidance. "Hey, Alex, how did you know it was time to leave? What was it like finally standing up to her? Do you think I'm crazy for wanting something better?" Every time, I told them the truth. "No, you're not crazy. You're waking up." Because that's what it felt like. Waking up from a long, exhausting dream where I kept convincing myself it was fine. I was fine, when really, I'd just been too loyal to my own suffering. Getting fired by Dana? That was the worst moment of my career. But it was also the best thing that ever happened to me. One night, I was walking home from work, and my phone buzzed with an old memory notification. 3 years ago to the day, I'd taken a photo of my desk at Holton. Coffee mug. Sticky notes. The corner of a to-do list that read, "Ask again about raise." I stared at it for a second, then laughed. 3 years ago, I was begging for scraps. Now, I was building a table of my own. Dana didn't ruin me. She revealed me. She showed me how much I'd been settling for, and how much I had left to give once I stopped asking for permission. And if she didn't see that coming, well, she should.